90% of the companies, and spouses and children are generally considered one owner. Here, very importantly, we move into what is a large business versus a small business, and you'll notice I underline the terms full-time equivalent or full-time just to make sure there's that distinction. To determine whether you're a large business, you will measure your employer size. If you have 50 or more full-time equivalent employees, or FTEs, you are considered large. A small business, of course, would be the other end if you have fewer than full-time equivalent employees. And we'll define those terms a little bit later. You'll see qualified employer, qualified employee, qualified insurance throughout this law. All that really means is that they will be, as far as the qualified employer goes, they are qualified to purchase insurance on these SHOP exchanges, these Small Business Health Options Program exchanges. We'll talk about those a little bit later as well. The employer mandate, it requires these large businesses, those with 50 or more full-time equivalent employees, to offer insurance that is both affordable, as defined by the law, and meets minimum value, as defined by the law, to only full-time employees, not those full-time equivalents that we described earlier, and their dependents or pay penalties. One caveat here is we are still waiting to hear more about the offering of dependent coverage. The law says you must offer to dependents. We still don't know whether that means you have to subsidize those folks or give support to their purchase of insurance, or just exclusively offer. The two penalties are two different monetary amounts. If you choose not to offer and you are a large business, there is a $2,000 per employee non-offer penalty, but that is only in excess of the first 30, quote, free full-time employees. And then there is if that insurance doesn't meet that affordability standard or that minimum value standard, there is a $3,000 penalty per employee that doesn't meet this certain circumstances. However, you can't be dinged with both. If you fall into that second $3,000 penalty, it'll be the lesser of the $2,000 per employee penalty minus 30, or the $3,000 penalty of those employees that just fall into those certain circumstances. Bob's going to discuss a little bit some of the terms of having to deal with your insurance next.
Right, and I'm going to actually, Kevin, if I can go back, I'm going to put into English a little bit of the law degree that you just gave the listeners. Just to tell you a little story, one of our members talked to me. He had 3 businesses, small businesses of, each one with 15 to 25 employees. And he said, well, fortunately, none of them have 50 or more, so I don't have to worry about the employer mandate. And what I explained to him was what you just heard from Kevin, which is, no, very likely the IRS is going to interpret you as one business, and even though none of your 3 businesses has anything whatsoever to do with one another, they're 3 very different types of businesses, they're going to count you as one. You are the owner, you're over 50, you are now subject to somewhere north of $40,000 a year in obligations, either to provide insurance or to pay penalties. He was surprised.